Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, Game 5 tonight in Memphis. Are the Lakers going to close it out? We'll tell you. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always free. It's never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, hang out with a nearly 16,000 strong community of Lakers fans, subscribers to the channel. Commenting, the comments section during the playoffs especially has exploded. So great way to interact with us, great way to interact with other Lakers fans. So we would encourage you to hang out there and do that. So also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So we're going to talk hopefully a little bit about Anthony Davis. We'll get into Austin Reaves because a lot of people think we did not give him enough shine, Andy, after the Game 4 win on Monday. So we'll give him some before we're done here. And there's lots to talk about Anthony Davis. I'd like to get into some issues I have with the way that people talk about the Lakers. But first, Andy, it's Game 5. The Lakers can close this thing out in Memphis, a place that has been very challenging for visiting teams to win, but a place where the Lakers have already won once in this series, so they know it can be done.
Yeah. Before we even get into that, I forgot to mention this yesterday that I thought was kind of cool in terms of little Lakers trivia. Game 4 was the Lakers' first overtime win in the playoffs since 2009. Finals, also Game 4, nice coincidence, versus Orlando. Derek Fisher with those backbreaker threes. Remember that he's backpedaling, He's got the arm up, and Jameer Nelson, for reasons nobody will ever understand, decided to play way off noted big shot hitter Derek Fisher in the
It was an oddish choice in my mind, yes.
He was a smart, good player, but that was point. Nope. But anyway, I just thought that was a cool piece of trivia that fans would appreciate. As far as the opportunity to close out, yeah, this would be massive. A, you get the series in hand, but B, you get this time off that the Lakers could always use. We are starting to get into a stretch where the longer this series goes, the more the team's going to be playing every other day. Everybody is probable for tonight's game, according to the Lakers, but we saw AD take a couple nasty spills. LeBron, he looked incredible during Game 4, but I can promise you the dude is feeling it and would love a couple days to recharge. You want them to finish this thing tonight, and you want Sacramento and Golden State to just keep swapping wins and losses until Game 7.
I mean, look, I think Memphis, it's pretty clear. The big question is, I think, sort of fallout from Game 4. Like, I feel like the Lakers, realistically, LeBron, AD, especially LeBron, who, was Strugglesville, I think, for a lot of that game in terms of creating space, using the athleticism. He had to dig deep for those sort of decisive drives at the end of regulation and then in overtime, moving to his left, Andy, which he cannot do. LeBron James, as we all know, cannot go left, as Dylan Brooks once told us. But I guess he just got lucky in that instance.
Well, the old expression, the old are the luckiest people in our population.
That's right. It's an old expression.
Yes. It's as old as the people that were celebrating with that expression.
They probably invented it.
Yeah.
And so, LeBron, I think, could be a little heavy-legged on tonight. And Anthony Davis, while listed as probable, took a beating in that game, fell really hard. He might have, a few issues in that regard. So I do wonder if the sort of energy, advantage the physical advantage belongs to Memphis in this game, and then you combine that with the natural inclination to fight to preserve your season. The first 15 minutes, game time are going to be really difficult for the Lakers. I think, Memphis is going to try to get out ahead and give themselves, for the first time in this series, kind of a laugher from end to end.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. That is what they're going to be looking to do. I also think it's worth noting that after this Game 4 loss, John Morant and Dillon Brooks didn't talk to the media. Second time for Dillon Brooks, which could be telling in terms of their, the team's collective headspace. I agree with you. If the Lakers can get out to a lead, it's huge. You don't want to give Memphis early life. And if you step on their necks early, it's not a given that they will overheat emotionally, get out of hand, but it is definitely not a non-zero chance scenario. It's also worth noting too, in terms of Memphis collectively trying to get their bleep together to try to win 3 straight. And we've seen them get emotional over the season, over the series. They are really lacking veteran on-court leadership. Steven Adams is the only real playoff, been through the wars guy they have, and he's not playing. You can only provide so much leadership in street clothes. Danny Green got traded. He is a respected role player. Even if he had been a bit player, he could be helpful in that regard. From there, I looked this up. The most seasoned player on the Grizzlies, whether you're talking about just overall league experience or playoff experience, Tyus Jones, 7 seasons in the league, 24 playoff games, counting Game 4, never been out of the second round. From there, Luke Kennard, 5 years in the league, 23 playoff games, including Game 4, 1 trip to the Western Conference Finals. And then from there, Brian, your most seasoned NBA vet on the Grizzlies, and on top of it, the oldest player in the rotation for the Grizzlies, period, Dillon Brooks. You can't make this up.
I'm reminded of the number that we mentioned that our friend Dave Ramazano at Spectrum Sportsnet looked up for us when I was doing TV last week, where if you take all of the players in this series and add up their playoff minutes, LeBron James has more than every other player on both teams combined by about 1,500. If you take out Tristan Thompson, who is not going to appear in a game, then now it's like 3,500 or some incredible number like that, or 4,000 more that LeBron has than everybody else in this series combined. And Anthony Davis is number 2. So that I
frankly
think
Dennis Schroeder might be 3.
Yeah, you're right.
If it's
actually, no, Schroeder's probably. I was mentioning Schroeder's probably ahead of AD, maybe. I'm not sure, but
no. But if it's not, all I'm saying is if it's not AD, Adams, it's Schroeder.
And so I think one of if the Lakers can withstand that first, hyper intense amount of energy that is going to be put out by Memphis in this game, then they've got themselves an opportunity to just sort of grind out another win like they have, and that's obviously really great. I agree with you though. If they can manage to shut the crowd up real quick, get out to a 13-2 run, if something like that, Memphis will maybe have one big push, but I could see that thing going downhill really quick. The part that I don't really want to invest too much time in thinking about is what happens if Memphis gets out to a really big lead. If you see something like Game 2, where the Lakers just aren't playing well or playing really sloppy, whether or not the Lakers would really try to bust all the way through to the end of the game and expend a ton of energy, or if they would maybe throw up a white flag a little bit early to try to get LeBron and AD and all those guys as much energy as possible to make sure you close it out in LA in Game 6. I think that's a live potential scenario, but either way, it would be nice to get out of this series tomorrow, tonight.
Yeah, we don't have to go deep into it. I think things would have to be exceptionally out of hand for the Lakers to go that route.
Well, especially since Memphis has shown the ability to stop scoring for long stretches of time against the Lakers defense. They are catchable if you fall behind.
There's no guarantee you win that game 6. You don't know.
No, there's not. Not at all. So not at all. Not at all. I think it all depends on like if LeBron looks like he's dragging, if AD if guys really look tired, and you can do that cost benefit. But you're right. The fact that Memphis can be caught because their offense has been shown to be so suspect and the Lakers have defended so well, it leaves the door open for a comeback. I mean, they almost won game 2 despite Wave's arms around. Like they were terrible and they still could have won that game.
I think things would have to be, again, exceptionally out of hand for the Lakers to go that route. But we'll see.
All right, let's talk Anthony Davis. Let's talk Austin Reaves, and let's talk about all of those things next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, the coolest game I've played in a while. I've always thought that I could be a great NBA GM. I talk a lot on this podcast like I could do it, but you know what? It's not all that easy, it turns out. My apologies, Rob Pelinka and Mitch Kupchak, although to be fair, I still would not have traded for Russell Westbrook. I would not have signed Luol Deng. But anyway, let's not live in the past. If you've ever fantasized about managing your own basketball franchise, go and download Ultimate Pro Basketball GM right now. The game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise, the challenging personalities on the roster or on the coaching staff, trading or training players, making draft picks, taking your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of multiple seasons. Plus, you can talk bleep to all your friends playing the game with you, just like all the Locked On hosts do with our various teams. And Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free. It's playable offline. You can play it on the go whenever you want, however you want. And Locked On Lakers listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. And to download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com. You can scan the code or look it up on the App Store. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today.
Locked On Lakers also brought to you by Ibotta. Andy, we're always buying stuff. It's groceries, it's school shopping, it's clothes, something for the house. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. But each time you buy something, like I know I'm tired of not getting a little something back, little something from me. And that's where Ibotta comes in. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods. You can link your loyalty account and upload your receipt after you shop and get cash back. It is that easy. Andy, the average Ibotta user earns $120 a year in real cash back. That can cover the cost of an entire trip to the grocery, a trip to the mall, whatever it is. Or you could use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, or that game you've been really dying to go to, the fancy dinner at the restaurant you've been wanting to take your wife or your girlfriend to, whatever it might be. Get real cash back, not points that you don't ever use or things like that. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it, using the code LOCKED when you register. Go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use the code LOCKED. Anthony Davis played one of the most interesting games that I've seen from him, in the sense that he was really not great in that
offense
throughout the game. Offensively, but
just making sure we're specifying.
Sure,
defensively he was very good,
and that's where I was going. You got a couple big buckets and a couple big moments from him where he did produce something that you needed. But overall, offensively, he was a non-entity. On the other side of the ball, he was a defensive player of the year kind of guy. Like, he was all over the place. He was incredibly disruptive for the Lakers, and in terms of making it very difficult for Memphis to do what they wanted to do. The part that I think is so interesting about this is, we've seen stretches where AD goes kind of nuclear offensively and what that does for the Lakers. And obviously it's pretty helpful. And we've seen these games where he kind of feels like a non-factor almost on both sides of the ball, kind of floating through games and not feeling impactful in ways that we talk about this throughout the season. This was something different. This was fully invested Anthony Davis, super impactful on the game on one end, and an end that matters, by the way, but less so on the other. And the part that I'm curious about is how much you think the Lakers can, I don't know if get away with the right word is the right word. How many of these types of performances where he's giving you sort of half of what you would need from Anthony Davis can they absorb going forward in the playoffs? Because at least in this series, it's been hard for him to get going.
Yeah, I mean, in this series, I think they can likely get away with it more easily just because they have 3 opportunities to win one game, right? And then it's over. And, they've demonstrated 3 out of 4 times. I mean, AD has had a big offensive game in this series, but for the most part, he has not gone crazy, and they've demonstrated that they can win. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking big picture in the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with it on a regular basis. This team has been most consistently its most dominant and impressive when Anthony Davis is the best player on both ends of the floor. I think some of this is specific to Memphis. They are a really difficult team to score against, period. I mean, they're a very good defensive team, and they're a very, very good interior defensive team. And that is anchored by the reigning now defensive player of the year, who is a great shot blocker, very just disruptive in general. I think it's a tough matchup for AD to try to dominate that way, period. As far as trying to offset it as much as possible, it would help a lot if other guys would just make more shots, period, either to open up the floor more for AD or just to make it matter less.
Well, it's worth noting that, one of his big moments off in terms of offensive rebounds in the game in the fourth quarter came after Russell hit those 3 3-pointers, when D'Lo was doing his heat check putback, offensive rebound stuff. It got enough attention that it was sort of pulling guys out and gave a little more space to AD down low.
Yeah, and I would like to see them get AD into more positions where he can just catch and go, make quick decisions, no matter what the decisions are. Like, the more AD has to dribble and kind of contemplate, the worse he tends to be, the worse by extension the Lakers offense tends to be. And this is the Lakers offense in general. They need to do a lot of stuff, I think, more quickly and with more purpose. The Grizzlies are really physical and really sticky-handed. So it's the more you allow them to set, the more chances you give them to strip the ball, the more likely they are to get you in trouble. And then, if AD is in one of those positions to catch and go, he's got to catch and go. Some of that is on AD. But I also think this is a legitimately difficult matchup for AD, even if you can also say AD legitimately they need more from him.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I was looking at it, and my thought too was this is probably the most physical series the Lakers could see in the playoffs, just because Memphis is as physical a team as the Western Conference has to offer. Denver, none of these. I mean, it's the playoffs. None of these teams are soft and this and that, whatever, but they just operate differently than Memphis does. And, so I think from a physical abuse standpoint, team wide, it would be different in the next round, regardless of who wins, assuming the Lakers get there, even if it's Golden State or if it's Sacramento. I do think it's interesting. The Lakers played very well against
Golden State. You better cover your nuts again.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of groin attacks.
There really are
this year. It's kind of an epidemic.
Mm-hmm. It really, it's we may need to have the White House get on it or something. There's a national epidemic. They may have to declare an emergency.
It's not a sport that normally, you wear a protective cup.
Well, although it is funny, it's both an epidemic And it's also basically Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks, like at the same time. Like it's a little bit both.
Joel Embiid, if he gets back on the floor, he's a kicker.
Yeah, it's really those three guys.
Yeah. Good point. But as well as the Lakers played against Golden State,
Unfortunately, the Lakers are in more of their draw was more of the nut hitting draw, like their particular part of the bracket and the conference.
Yeah, I didn't realize they had divided it that way, but here we are.
Well, you know what though, the other side of the draw does have Chris Paul, so let's not.
But in 4 games against Golden State, Anthony Davis has shot 45% from the floor, not from 3-point range or something like that. And
he's never going to shoot from 3-point range 45%.
That'd be great. And he only has averaged 23 points a game. He only played Sacramento once, and went for 24 points and 47% shooting. So sample sizes are quite as big there. He did get the line 11 times in that game. Sacramento is not thought of as a good defensive team. Golden State, at least at home, is. They've been much better defensively than Sacramento has been. So it's hard. I think it is hard to anticipate, after they get out of this series, he'll shake loose. And I think you can draw a line from how effective Anthony Davis is offensively to how likely it is that LeBron James can sustain elite level play all the way to the conference finals, all the way to a potential finals. I think those two things are related.
Look,
it's a problem for tomorrow, but it's still an interesting one to think about.
First, let's actually get to the point where the Lakers close out a series, and then you can truly have a reason to start looking ahead to the next one. But I mean, I'll be honest, the days of LeBron James being able to carry a team for 4 rounds, those are over. It's not ideal, but I also think it's just over, period. And that's not a slight at LeBron. He's 38 years old. He shouldn't be performing at the level that he does anyway. Like, this level is seriously like a sports miracle. But the plan when they brought in AD was not for him to be Robin to LeBron's Batman when LeBron was 38 years old. Like, this only works if Anthony Davis can, on balance, dominate more than he doesn't. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're right. And so let's talk about a little bit about Austin Reaves, and then I want to see if you're seeing something in the same way that I am in terms of the way that maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are talking about the Lakers and how they play in this series and beyond. So we'll do that next. So my kids and I, they're big soccer fans. And I actually think soccer, if you've never gone in LA, where the Galaxy, definitely LAFC, super fun. Great way to spend time with your kids. And it's not one of these eternally long sporting events where they get really bored. So we're always looking to try to get tickets, whether last minute, hunting down the best price, all these things. And it can be really stressful because you want to be able to get to the game, but you kind of don't want to spend too much. And you don't want to, you want to know when you log on somewhere and you want to buy tickets that you're going to get a really good experience. And you can do that at Game Time. It's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, all that stuff. We've got killer deals on last minute tickets, and with their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you're going to have. So you can forget planning months in advance because Game Time has deals right up to the day of the event. And it's cool because I've actually used this feature. The deals aren't just for 10 minutes before the game. They've also got deals for things that are happening weeks from now, and you can kind of do this at the pace that you want to do. These exclusive flash deals, they apply to all the sports all the events that you're interested in and all that. So you download the Game Time app, you create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, great experience guaranteed.
Locked on Lakers is also brought to you by Nissan, and Nissan's Most Electric Player of the Week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, and the award goes to LeBron James in the Game 4 victory over the Grizzlies at age 38. LeBron had 22 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 2 charges taken on Ja against just one turnover. Just one turnover, handling the ball that much. He is the oldest player in NBA history to record a 2020 game. The man is basically
also the oldest to win the Electric Player of the Week from Nissan Aria.
Probably, yeah. I guess so. The man, LeBron James, he is basically a Nissan Aria playing basketball. He's smooth and elegant as a passer. He's got more strength than centers around the league, and a breakaway LeBron dunk remains electric. The 2023 Nissan Aria packs pin-user seat power and premium intelligence all in one EV. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Aria, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com.
Andy, a few people were upset that we didn't spend enough time talking about Austin Reaves after the game on Monday. And that's true. We mentioned that he played well and he was really important, but we spent more time on LeBron and Anthony Davis.
We're talking more about the game, sort of big picture and themes, but yeah, Austin Reaves had a hell of a game.
And it is
very well.
It is indicative of kind of where he now sits with this Lakers team. Again, he's going to make all the money. Like the hard part for Austin Reaves this summer is going to be getting somebody to give him a contract, knowing that the Lakers are probably going to match it, unless you just go, I think a team can go up, to 99 million or something like that for 4 years. I'm not 100% sure that even at 4 and 99, the Lakers wouldn't match that. I'm not being silly. I really think they would consider that and probably would need to. Now, if they did that, then D'Angelo Russell might not come back too, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Point being, he has played so well that he has graduated out of what the Lakers can offer him, that 50 million or whatever it is, but and so well that teams know the Lakers have to keep him. We talked about Anthony Davis and what he needs to provide, like this steadiness from Austin Reaves, who was the team's leading scorer in Game 4. Like this has become something that they can't live without. When Austin Reaves doesn't play well, you notice things go poorly.
Yeah. I mean, he had so-so games in games 2 and 3. I don't think he was bad in either one of them, but he was not particularly great either. And, on top of the I'm him after game 1, I saw a little bit of snark, whether in the comments section or on Twitter, on our timeline at Cam Brothers, saying Austin Reaves pumped the brakes or, hype, whatever. This was a game that, as you said, it was a reminder of how important he is to the team's success. I also thought he did a really good job in this game keeping his head when it took a while for him to start getting calls on the drives. He only took 2 free throws in the first half. Second half and overtime, he got to the line more. But we've seen at times Reaves get thrown when he doesn't get the calls, not even because he's complaining, but I think sometimes he doesn't quite know what to do when it isn't happening.
Yeah, it's like when we talked about this, I think, going into the series, like when guys go in with the express purpose of drawing contact versus trying to score and maybe pick up the contact along the way. Like sometimes, he gets stuck in that contact drawing thing more than the scoring part.
Right. And this was a game where the refs were letting players just openly beat the crap out of each other without calling much. And again, doing this on both sides. But I think Reaves did a nice job adjusting to that. And that led in part to him having a really good game and just his ability to not really do a little bit of everything, but like a lot of everything. It's so critical in this series. It makes him playable with any floor combination or any scenario. Like if you're down 5 in crunch time, trying to score, Reaves makes sense. If you're up 5 in crunch time, trying to defend a lead, he makes sense. If you're trying to generate offense in ways that don't revolve around entirely LeBron and Anthony Davis, Reaves makes sense. Like he went from being this guy that was an obvious connector to a guy that is capable of carrying stretches of offense while connecting everything else. I mean, it's just, he got a few, I don't even know if we mentioned this. He got a few votes for most improved player. And I think if the last couple months that he really had this opportunity when he'd been the starting lineup had been there all season, he might have finished top 5.
Maybe, yeah, particularly if the Lakers had had a little bit more success. Like, the record drags you down. But the other thing that's I think really important to make note of is defensively, he has been critical for the way that the Lakers have, generally speaking. Jaws had moments where he's gone off. Desmond Bane had was finally kind of broke through in game 4, but the Lakers have not had any kind of game to this point where all of Memphis's dudes are rolling at the same time. They've managed to limit, let one guy go and limit everybody else. And fundamental to making Bane's life difficult, fundamental to making Ja's life challenging, and all these other guys that Memphis can put out is Reaves. He has the second best defensive rating among anybody who's played meaningful minutes in this series, and right with Schroeder. His defensive rating in this series at 36 minutes a game is better than Anthony Davis's, and we've done nothing but gush about what AD has done, rightly so, on that side of the ball. So it's not just the ability to play with a bunch of lineups offensively, it's that he fits defensively as well. And that closing lineup that they had on Monday with the two stars and Schroeder, Reaves, and Rui was just dominant. And you don't have to mix and match in ways with Reaves on either side of the ball. And that, whether at the very least, you may not like where Darvin Ham lands with some of his choices, but they get made significantly easier when you don't have to kind of swap out multiple players at a time. Like if you want to get Rui on the floor, you can leave Reaves there. It's not like you have to take Reaves off because you can't do X, Y, and Z that you need. So he's an incredible luxury in his ability on both ends to kind of blend with whoever you put him with.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's a really important part of what makes this team work when it's at its best, or just when it needs to be at its best for, say, a 5-minute stretch, a 3-minute stretch. He's incredibly important. And we talked about Austin Reaves now. So everybody can get off, proverbial asses.
Right. I mean,
we weren't slighting him. We just, again, we were talking about other stuff.
Half-hour show, folks. We can't cover everything in every show.
Right. But he is worth praising because he did.
There was no Austin Reaves erasure in this or on this podcast. That was him before the series. That's him now. There we go.
Locked on this summer.
Locked on Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, to watch the show, and hang out with almost 16,000 subscribers who are following along from all over the planet. Andy, I got some comments from New Zealand that I was responding to earlier today, so that was exciting.
Shout out to the Philippines. We're big there.
We are. The Lakers are huge. And like, for people who don't know, the Philippines is a massive basketball nation. They love hoops in the Philippines. And
they love the Lakers.
And they really love Kobe.
Yeah, I was going to say, and dare I say, all of that together makes you and I gods in the Philippines.
We would not pay for a drink in the Philippines. That is for sure. Just unfortunately, we do have to pay for a flight. So that's why I've never been. Let's see what happens in game 5. It would be an enormous luxury for the Lakers to be able to get out of this series without having to play another game, while hopefully then Sacramento and Golden State duke it out for 7 games, and the 7th game goes into septuple overtime. That would be what we'd be rooting for, in part because that's great basketball. So we'll see what happens in game 5 on Wednesday tonight. And we'll obviously be back after the game to wrap it all up. And we'll see everybody on Thursday.